Impact Leadership by Omdena is a series supporting and promoting thoughtful and sustainable leadership with a focus on building solutions to solve some of the most pressing problems of the world. In Impact Leadership by Omdena, we bring together the civic society world and the tech world to discuss and create the impact for a better future. Rudradev Mitra, CEO of Omdena, is the host of the series. Subscribe to our Impact Leadership newsletter on Omdena's website to be notified about new pieces of meaningful content.
Welcome all. I'm glad to have Vishal Ghotge, who is the CEO of Kiva.org. If some of you don't know what Kiva is, it's a micro-lending platform which was founded in 2005. Since then, it has given $1.88 billion loans to 4.6 million people in 80 countries. Welcome, Vishal, to Omdena Impact Podcast.
Thank you, Rudradev. It's a pleasure to be here. It's amazing how similar the missions of Kiva and Omdena are, which is there's talent everywhere, but opportunity is not equal. And equalizing that opportunity is Kiva's mission, and I know it's Omdena's mission as well. So it's a pleasure to be here with you and speak with your audience.
Yeah, right. When I first get to know Kiva in 2010, and when I was studying in Cambridge, I was really inspired by Kiva. And I would love to come to Kiva. Before that, I will briefly go back to your story. So I saw that you actually have worked in Microsoft, Groupon, and Payscale. These are high-tech companies, and you were playing the role of a very product background. So in Microsoft, you were working the Windows Phone. In Groupon, you were a VP of product, and at Payscale, you were Chief Product Officer. What I would love to hear a bit more about your experiences and learnings, actually. What makes a great tech product?
Great. Yeah. What makes a great tech product? It's an interesting question. I'll talk a couple of things. One is answer that question, then talk about how that led me to Kiva as well. I think a great tech product is something that solves a unique customer problem in an easy and delightful way. And that's what I aspire to build, is understand what truly is a problem that's worth solving, and how do we solve it in a unique way. So that's my, if I were to sum all my 20 years of experience building technology products, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. My next question would have been what you said, that what I was very keen to know is, coming from such a product background, working in such high-tech companies, what made you join Kiva, which is perhaps not known to be a high-tech product. I'm sure there is a product behind it. So what made you join Kiva?
Yeah, it's a great question. Kiva actually is an extremely technology-driven offering, if you will. Like, it's technology that's helping connect millions of lenders with millions of borrowers. And so there's a huge technology component over there. But it's more than technology, it's the impact that it creates. So if I think about it, sometimes in your life, the universe conspires to put you in the right place. And it just felt for me that way with Kiva. I have, as you mentioned, I have a background in building technology products for a number of years. And my personal passion is to work on things that build impact at scale. And that's exactly the combination that Kiva brings, is there is a product that is connecting people and delivering just tremendous impact. And so to me, I couldn't have constructed a better journey and a better destination than being at Kiva and helping, whatever I have learned through building products and bringing that to Kiva and helping it scale to the next level.
So next, Mike, what I would love to is, what is the next level?
So you started the podcast really well with saying, what the impact Kiva has delivered. And I've always been in awe of that impact myself, even before joining Kiva. Like, we've connected over 2 million lenders with over 4.5 million borrowers, delivering close to $2 billion in loans. And that impact is just tremendous. But having said that, like, if today we connect about 500,000 borrowers on an annual basis who get financial help, get financial access from Kiva. But there are 1.4 billion people in the world who are underserved, who are outside the financial, who don't get the financial access to credit as they should. And so while we are doing this amazing work, I just keep asking my question, like, why 500,000 borrowers? Like, why not 5 million? Why not 50 million? Why not 500 million? So I think about growth for us as a moral obligation. There are so many people that we know we can help. And so if we can scale to help take what we've built to more people, we can magnify our impact. And the second aspect is not just the breadth of impact, but also the depth of impact. So some things that Kiva has just done so well is not just thinking about how many people it reaches, but really carefully thinking about what is the depth of impact it's creating, what populations should we be serving, what are the most underserved populations, and how do we create that impact really well. A good example of that is a few years ago, the team started refugee lending. And one of the places where not too many organizations have been focused on that. And we've built offerings and products and worked with partners to really go deep on helping people, displaced people all across the world, and delivering loans when it's hard for them to get access to loans. That's a great example of not just saying we need to get to millions of people, but which is the population that needs most help. So whether it's smallholder farmers, whether it's women, whether it's marginalized populations in the US, or it is refugees and displaced populations. So the second part of my vision is to continue figuring out the most vulnerable, the most deserving populations, and then deliver our impact with them.
While listening to you, some of the points that I noted down, I would love to come back because I felt like I'm in a way listening to myself when you spoke about the growth is a moral obligation, when you said that the universe conspired to take up this role, and you very well said about not the breadth, but the depth, which actually I very much believe in. In Omdena, we are talking about local chapters, going to local communities is absolutely essential, and going to the people who are often underserved or ignored in a way. So those itself are very interesting topics, but I would come back to that. Before that, what I am quite keen to know is coming back to the product point, where it's interesting to know that there are 1.4 billion people who are underserved. They don't have access to the loans. Mm-hmm. Many of them are outside the banking system, which I presume are the unbankables. Mm-hmm. How are you planning to reach to those people through the product and the next stage?
So the way Kiva has scaled its impact is through partnerships. And so what we do is work with partners across the globe, partners who are very aligned with our mission, who are doing work the way we want to, where we think exactly as the depth of impact matters, how we work with borrowers matters. So we have achieved the scale we have through partnerships. So one of the ways we continue doing is continuing to make sure that we expand the way with the organizations that we partner with and reach more and more places. That we have found is one of the best ways for us to reach more people. Second is really thinking through what new offerings and services do we need to provide to attract more capital. In some ways, it's what we do is simple, right? We raise capital from people like you and me and make sure that we can disperse that capital to people who need it. So for us to scale, we need to make sure both sides, and that's why we have this beautiful marketplace, right? Is how do we scale both sides of this ecosystem? And on one side, we figure out how do we create and scale these partnerships. On the other side, figure out what do we need to do to attract more lenders onto our ecosystem, figure out more pathways in which money can flow into the marketplace. And so those are the things that the team is continuing to innovate on.
So if we look at that particular coming to the product, as a tech platform, are you doing something to expand that partnership, or that would help you to reach to both the sides of the donors as well as the recipients, looking at purely from a tech platform side?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the tech part, the way I think about it is, what do we need to go build from a customer perspective? What new offerings do we need to provide such that we continue attracting and retaining our lenders on our platform? I'll give you some examples. So one of the areas, the two important, in some ways, flows of capital that happen into our marketplace. One is through the individual lenders. Like, this has been the power of Kiva, right? We have people like you, me, and coming, lending $25 at a time and recycling that money for a long period of time. That's been the power of Kiva. So what we need to figure out is, as the Kiva started in 2005, we are at 2023 now. like people's attitudes and how they think about what microfinance and lending means to them has changed. Like, how do we build our offering such that it continues attracting people today? Second is think about how in some ways tech products are built, right? How do we make sure there are network effects that are built into our products such that one lender coming in can bring somebody else? How do we think about, like, most of the reason people are here is because they want to create an impact. How do we make sure that we are communicating that impact in the right way back to the customers? So they are, they feel they understand what they're doing and are incentivized to do more. So there is a lot more we can do both in our existing products as well as building new experiences for our lenders. The second part, as I mentioned, one part was individual lenders. The second part is corporate and institutional capital that comes in. So we have done an amazing work of working with large organizations like Visa, Bank of America, eBay, Sage Foundation, and helping partner with them to bring their corporate social responsibility programs and connecting them in the real world by, making they have goals, and we help those goals happen through the Kiva's network. And while doing that, we engage their stakeholders in a very meaningful way. So Visa will say we have, a certain amount of money that we want to do good with. So we figure out how we can get Visa's employees participating in this program, doing this individual lending that Kiva does as a part of Visa's corporate social responsibility program. And again, to create this win-win-win across our entire ecosystem. So that's an area where we think we can expand a lot more and make sure that we can connect even corporates and their stakeholders meaningfully and create, those programs that they want to do for their brand and for their company's missions. So it's both on individual lenders as well as institutional corporate lenders, how we can expand our offerings through our technology and make the right connections happen.
You mentioned about the network effect, and this is something I often think a lot about, like, how do we create network effect? And that's actually an interesting problem to think, like, because as we are also very driven by community. And one of the thought that I actually came while talking to Yanti, who was the previous guest, he's the CEO of Save the Children US. And he was talking about the difference between working in a corporate and NGO, and he said that the impact of actually an NGO and then the people's life, how is this actually changing? It could be a very interesting thing to track. And that would motivate a lot more people to come in and say, okay, I can see it's not that I'm just giving the money and it's helping something, but it's actually over months and years, something is actually affecting people's life positively. And one of the things that what I'm actually thinking is impact calculator. How actually can we calculate impact? And that I think would potentially create a network effect. So I would also hear your thoughts. Have you thought about something like that how Kiva is pretty that effect, not just immediate giving a loan to someone, but months after or years that I can see what's happening?
Yes. And I think we've done a fair bit over there, but the opportunity is just huge and tremendous in front of us. And there are a few things that, when I look at our existing offerings that just pop out to me. We have, Kiva has these teams that the community itself has created. Like schools come together and say, hey, there's a Stanford lending group, and there are these lending groups that people have created on their own. And those are just great in terms of people feeling inspired, like, hey, they will themselves post a loan and say, this loan is coming up, let's go fund this loan. And they'll all come together and make a loan happen. Same thing, as I mentioned, that happens in corporate settings where we will have employees coming in and saying, hey, these are loans that we want to fund and come, let's do it together. And those both, the impact that creates and the mutual feeling that creates that we are doing this together is tremendous. And that actually in some ways is the foundation of Kiva. Kiva means unity. And so doing it together is actually a core part of Kiva's mission and, its foundation. So I think we've scratched the surface over there. There are places where we have some network effects that happen, but I think there is a big opportunity for us to make that even better in sense of how do we enable even communities, right? I think we do one of our products is offerings as US local. So we offer 0% loans to marginalized populations in the US, which is just fantastic. Like it's just has had such a huge impact on a lot of people who otherwise don't have access to loans. And over here, the community effect is really strong, where, there is someone in your locality who's trying to, a shop owner who's trying to, get a loan. And there's a huge opportunity for us to get the local population that's living close by contribute and make sure that they can provide a loan to something which is in their locality. So creating network effects over there is important. So I think what we are going to see in the next stage of things that we are building is there is one of my ideas and visions, not just mine, the team's, is to figure out how we can bring this concept of doing things together much more profoundly and much more prominently within Kiva.
You are listening to Impact Leadership by Omdena, where we bring together the civic society world and the tech world to discuss and create the impact for a better future. Subscribe to our Impact Leadership newsletter on Omdena's website to be notified about new pieces of meaningful content.
Yeah, again, I completely believe in that, because Omdena was set up, the whole idea was collaboration, right? How can we collaborate and do things together and compete with each other? Now, let's come to one of my favorite topics, AI. With GPT and all these things coming up. Are you guys planning to use it? Are you guys seeing some ways that you are thinking of using AI or GPT or generative AI in general?
What a great question. I mean, it would be, I don't think there should be anyone, whether they're a technology company or not, who shouldn't be thinking about how is AI not just going to be used, how is it going to transform what they do? And so if we step back, today, we already use a lot of machine learning and data science within Kiva. So one of our key value value that we provide in some way is matching the right loan with the right lender. Because there are so many different attributes and so many different types of loans that we have, whether you slice and dice it based on geography or the type of loan or the type of person, or, what sort of, are you focused on climate? Are you focused on agriculture? So there's a whole bunch of different attributes. And we have seen that lenders have a propensity for funding certain types of loans. So based on the history of what a person has done, we show the right loans to them. We recommend the right loans to them. And then again, we've done a fair bit. There's a lot more we can do. And we see that there is a lot of value that we generate for our lenders when we show the right loans to them. They're happier, and we get a lot more loans flowing as well. So just the right recommendations is a critical part. That's what we do. But I think looking forward is just one of the things, at least I've realized, is now it's less about what can you do. It's more about what can you imagine. So are we doing the right imagination? Are we thinking broad enough? Because there are a lot of things that can happen if you just have the right imagination. You can use AI to facilitate solving the problems that you think should be solved. Like some of the areas we are thinking about is how can just the fact, like as I said, loan recommendations are something that's important, and loan searching is important. Can we use something like ChatGPT or a chatbot in our app, on our site, to just help people with natural language ask, like, this is what I want to do. Help me find this, and help, match that, do that matching really well. Or even it feels simple, but it can be solved in a really interesting way, is helping explain the concept of Kiva better, right? What happens to my loan? How does it get there? We have FAQs and we explain it through videos and everything else, but it just having a conversation would be great where we can help explain. Same thing for borrowers, right? When borrowers come onto our site and they want to get a loan, how do they understand what to do and how to use our offering in the right way can be dramatically solved. In some way, it's interesting that some of the big roadblocks are in just people understanding how things work. And then finally, I would say internally as well, there's a lot of value, and we are thinking about how we start using it. Is this a huge corpus of knowledge that we have internally, which is since 2005, right? Kiva has existed, but we have people who keep joining. I'm just 3 months old now, so there is a lot of context that is hard to gain. So can we use our internal systems such that we can feed all that data into an AI bot who can respond back to us with help understand what our borrowers have been doing, what our lenders have been doing, help us create the right strategies for the future. So yeah, I think, and I feel honestly, we're still scratching the surface here. I would love to learn from organizations like Omdena, it's like, how can we push the envelope here? How can we do more things and more efficiently using AI? So yeah, look to partner there and, learn from organizations like yours. I think though, as I mentioned, our model right now is partnering with organizations with who help us reach the right, people. But I think it helps us a lot in even as we identify which organizations to work with, as we identify which is the other thing that I mentioned is we want to find which are the most underserved populations and how do we find that out. So you helping understand that data better and helping understand where we should be, how do we create our impact teams better? I'm sure AI can help us over there, which in ways that we're not using it today.
Another big tech topic is blockchain. And I bring this up because of earlier I was talking about the impact calculator and the kind of the tracing the impact to the last point. Have you explored kind of particularly using blockchain in actually tracing impact or any other way that you are thinking about?
Interesting you asked the question. So we did have a initiative that we started a while ago, which is called the Kiva protocol, which we use blockchain to help create the right identity systems in places where there isn't an identity system. Because I think, as you know, there are one of the areas where that stops access, banking access, people from getting access to getting financial access rather, is having a strong system of how do you identify the person, how do you, make sure that the loans are distributed to the right person, and so on and so forth. A lot of places don't have that. So Kiva had invested in a blockchain-based initiative called Kiva Protocol, where we were exactly investigating that. There are certain reasons why that's something that we didn't pursue with, it invested a lot in it to figure out like how do we solve in places like Sierra Leone, I think, and Honduras. And it's something that we might come back to. It's something that we might see, is that an area that we can figure out whether there is a opportunity for us? Right now, where we are focused more on is how do we expand our access, both on the borrower side, like how do we expand to more and more organizations who can help us reach more borrowers? Also, as I said, how do we raise more capital on the lender and a corporate side? There are possibly areas, not something that's right on the horizon right now where we're using blockchain for it. But I look at technology as a means to an end. So what we are starting with is what are the biggest problems we need to go solve? And then how can technology help us, solve those problems?
While you were speaking, and I was thinking there are so many problems that Kiva would like to solve.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm interested to also hear from you, and same question that I often also have to ask, how to prioritize, how to focus, which one to pick, how do you choose which one of those features, the problems that you rather first solve, and whether the corporate side, whether the network effect, or whether on the side of the borrower, each of them itself are big problems.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I think the secret there is there was never a right answer. The way I start with is like, it is just going down, what is the mission of your organization? What is the vision? Where do you want to reach? And that is very clear for us. Like that has unchanged, that stays the same. We exist here to build a world where every single person has the financial access they need to thrive, right? And then after that, you figure out, okay, what are the ways in which we can get there? And there will be a bunch of different ways in which you can reach there. You as an organization figure out like where are your biggest assets and what can you meaningfully go do, and then based on that eventually make a leap of faith and say this is where we are going to go to. That may or may not be the best choice you would make, but I don't believe in that there being best choices. There should be the choice that you make which is right for that particular time that you feel, and then just go after it, and then just go with a gusto and just make that happen. So right now, I mean, in some ways, that's how Kiva was started, right? It's like, okay, can we make this happen? Can we actually, when Kiva started, crowdfunding didn't exist, right? So just starting, having an idea of saying, let's just connect these millions of people with millions of borrowers by building this marketplace was just audacious. And going after that was path-breaking. So in my mind, that's what you do. You look at, there's always, once there's a product that has existed for a while, you have customers, you have data, and you have instincts, right? So you use that and say, given all that I know, I have a good 70% confidence that this is something that can help me go realize my vision, right? Or I wouldn't say realize, but takes me a step closer to the vision. And if I know enough, then I go test it out. And then you use your normal lean product methodologies, right? Try to do things enough that you learn fast and you can fail fast, right? Say, oh, there is less opportunity over here, or there is, we had a hypothesis that this could work, but we quickly learn that it's not. Then you go pivot and go to something else. Or we like, wow, this hypothesis bore true. Let's keep moving on. So in some ways, failing fast is more important than making the right choice. And then eventually you meander your way towards a solution that works and takes you closer to your vision.
Well, yeah, there has to be some level of leap of faith. That's
100%.
absolutely true. And you kind of set a vision and then you work towards it and you hope you will reach to that vision. That's absolutely how it works. Before ending this podcast, I always go into the leadership because they always ask this question. What I'm keen to understand from you as a CEO of Kiva, there are challenges that you're facing being a leader of an organization as big and spread as Kiva. What are those biggest challenges that you're facing as a CEO and a leader of Kiva, and how are you overcoming them?
So I would say the biggest challenge is what we talked about earlier, is how do we scale while maintaining the depth of impact? And when I say scale, it is scaling lots of areas of our organization. So how do we scale partnerships? How do we scale our processes? How do we scale our technology? That to me is the biggest problem that we need to solve. And as I mentioned, while doing that, not losing sight of we are here for creating an impact where the depth of impact absolutely matters. How approaching that, we talked about it a little bit. The way I think you approach these things is twofold. One is making sure, again, very, very clear that you have a clarity of vision. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? That matters. I might sound like fluff sometimes, but it's not. Like, that is, if you lose sight of that, then it is, you don't know where you're going towards. So making sure that you and the organization are very clear, you repeat it, and you make sure that the vision and mission are clear. And then second comes down to really effective prioritization. Because what happens in things like this, when I said, if we really want to go from a scale of, 500,000 borrowers to 5 million, 50 million borrowers, right? When you do that, it's not a 1 year thing. You can't do that in a year. It's a long journey. It's a marathon. So over there, it's very clear. You need to be clear. What are you going to do next? What comes after that? And then focus the organization on that one thing that you're going to do for the future. And then make sure that we all know that this is a long journey and how we are progressively reaching towards our vision. And that's how you scale, is, taking that, having the grand vision, but then taking that focused step-by-step approach of how you're going to go there. That's, at least, I wouldn't say that's my advice. That's how I have done it in the past, and that's how I've seen it done well, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I think there's so much I can learn from you also about what you said. And I think as myself, am I also learning, and I think I will definitely think about what you said and see how am I applying that in my organization. And also for our listeners, I think that it's a great advice to think that how the products or solutions, or even in general in life, I think that the rule that you said does not only apply for a company, it might even work for life. Like, maybe look at how at the end of the life where I want to be, and then kind of work towards that. And why am I doing what am I doing in life, not just work?
That's very profound. That's very true.
Any final thoughts? It has been a pleasure, but I'd love to hear any final thoughts that we didn't touch upon or that you would like to share with us.
Well, I would firstly say thank you. Thanks for having this wonderful conversation. I admire what you're doing, Rudradev. Omdena is a fascinating organization teaching AI and using technology for social good. I wish you all the best in scaling this further and including more and more people in your community. And I will encourage all your listeners to, if they're not already Kiva lenders, to go check out Kiva. Your lending of every dollar goes directly to a person who has the talent but needs the opportunity. So you can make a difference.
Absolutely. I will say that to everyone else that, please go join Kiva. It's a great organization, and I admire it fully, and I am sure many people will be part of it.
Thank you
a lot,
so much.
Vishal, for being here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Impact Leadership by Omdena. Our mission is to support and promote thoughtful and sustainable leadership with a focus on building solutions to solve some of the most pressing problems of the world. Do not forget to subscribe to our Impact Leadership newsletter on Omdena's website to be notified about new pieces of meaningful content.